Hello, everybody, and welcome to Between the Bumps Professional Wrestling Podcast, the pro wrestling podcast where we go between the bumps in the ring to discuss match quality, storylines, wrestling news, and even make predictions in the world of professional wrestling and sports entertainment. I'm your host, Christian Marrero. Thank you for tuning in. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Between the Bumps Professional Wrestling Podcast. Today is Saturday, and so, of course, we have the Friday Night Smackdown review show. And Friday Night Smackdown was a little weird, but really good. I'm sorry if you can hear the roosters outside. Before I continue with the show, though, let me give a quick shout out to two Twitter pages and a website that have been helping me out lately. They've been promoting these episodes, and I greatly appreciate. The first is on Twitter, the Wrestling Soapbox. They were the first page to ever share any of my podcast episodes, and so far they've shared every episode. They've retweeted it, so I want to give a quick shout out to them and thank them for that. I really do appreciate it. And then the other is Podfolk. Podfolk is a podcaster community, and it's really cool. It's a really cool little website. I haven't really posted much on there, but I have seen other people posting, and it's just a cool place for podcasters to interact, share ideas, and support each other. And they have supported me, and so I'm going to support them by giving them a quick little shout out. Now, let's get into SmackDown. So we start with a contract signing with Jeff Hardy and Sheamus. And it's kind of weird that we're doing a contract signing for this match because it's not a title match. It's just an exhibition, technically, on the pay-per-view. But whatever. There is a reason they did this. So Sheamus makes his entrance, and coming out with him is a doctor and this box thing with a curtain around it. And Sheamus goes on to say that, look, I had nothing to do with the hit-and-run accident involving Elias. I had nothing to do with that. And before I sign this contract, before I agree to this match, I want Jeff to take a urine test. That's why I have a doctor. That's why I have this box with a curtain. There is no way I'm going to step in the ring with a junkie. And so Jeff just starts his promo by saying, "My name is Jeff Hardy, and I'm an alcoholic." And then he goes on to say, "Look, I've been battling addiction and alcoholism since my early 20s. I go to meetings every week to address the issues with my addictions, the issues with my family that are caused by my addictions." And he's like, "Look, my demons, they're starving. And all it takes to feed them, for me to give in, is to be in the presence of," and I quote, "a bastard like you," obviously referring to Sheamus. But Jeff agrees to take the test. Jeff is like, "Fine, you want me to take the test? I'll take the test." So, while Jeff goes into this curtained-off box thing to pee, Sheamus gets right up to the camera and says, "Kids, if you're a user, you're a loser. Don't end up like Jeff Hardy. Don't do drugs." And then Sheamus asks if Jeff wants to apologize to his family or issue a positive message to the fans while they wait for the test results. So the doctor starts stirring the rapid test to get the results, and as he's doing it, Jeff takes the urine from the doctor and he throws it into Sheamus' face, and he says, "Sometimes it's better to be pissed off." And the crowd starts chanting, "You got pissed on. You got pissed on." So that was pretty funny, I can't lie. Jeff Hardy's pun was kind of lame, but the crowd chanting, "You got pissed on," actually got a chuckle out of me. I thought that was pretty funny. So then we cut to commercial, and when we return, Sheamus is in the bathroom, and he's washing himself off. He's gargling with mouthwash, and the doctor comes in. And the doctor informs him that Jeff's drug test came out negative. He passed the drug test. And this pissed Sheamus off. Sheamus was livid about this. So then we move into the first match of the night, and it was a tag team match between the New Day taking on Cesaro and Nakamura. And when the New Day makes their entrance, they take a knee and they raise their fist for the Black Lives Matter movement. And I think that was a cool thing to do. Obviously, Big E and Kofi are both black, so I can only imagine how much this is affecting them. I'm not going to talk on the matter much because it is not my place. I am a white man, so it's not my place to talk about how black people are feeling. All I will say regarding it is listen to your black friends, listen to their plight, don't be so close-minded about things, and try to learn something. Enter the discussion with an open mind that maybe what you've been taught is incorrect. Because, you know, you can have statistics and charts and all these things, but that doesn't equate to real human experience. So listen to your black friends, your black brothers and sisters, and really hear them out, because this is very important. Now let's start with the match. So the match kicks off with Cesaro and Kofi. Cesaro immediately locks in a wrist lock, but Kofi is able to use his athleticism and his acrobatic skills to escape, and he's able to hit a splash, but Cesaro is able to break out of this. He's able to hit a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker on Kofi, then he tags in Nakamura. Nakamura goes to attack Kofi in the corner, but Kofi hits him with the double stomp. He goes for the pinfall, but Shinsuke kicks out at 2. Kofi sends Nakamura to the outside with a clothesline. He tags in Big E, who launches Kofi to the outside on a Nakamura. Then Big E hits a clothesline onto Cesaro. He sends Nakamura back into the ring, but Nakamura is able to land a kick on Big E, and Cesaro catches him with an uppercut on the outside. Then we break to commercial, and when we return, Cesaro is still in control of Big E. He hits him with a European uppercut, tags Nakamura in. Nakamura lays him across the top rope, hits him with the knee. Then he tags in Cesaro again, who sends Big E into the corner. Big E catches him with the shoulder, and then he hits him with a belly-to-belly. Cesaro tags Nakamura back in, and Big E tags Kofi in. And Kofi's able to take control with a series of strikes and a boom drop. But Cesaro is able to distract Kofi for a moment, but Kofi turns around, hits the SOS on Nakamura. He goes for the pinfall, but Cesaro breaks it up, makes the save. Kofi goes to the top, and Nakamura follows him. And eventually Kofi is able to knock Nakamura off the top rope, and Kofi goes for a crossbody. But Shinsuke gets his knee up, he rolls Kofi into a cradle, and he gets the pinfall. Shinsuke and Cesaro win the match, and they will probably be facing the New Day at Backlash for the titles. That is my prediction. Because they pinned the champions, they now have a legitimate gripe. It was a fine match. The match was good, it was fun, but the ending was very predictable. Like, right when the match started, I was thinking to myself, Shinsuke and Cesaro are going to win this to set up a tag team title match against New Day at Backlash. I pretty much knew that was going to happen, but the match was still good. Then we are treated to a backstage segment with Heavy Machinery. Tucker is back. I don't know where he's been, but he is back. Otis is wearing a blindfold, like one of these sleeping masks. And Tucker is testing his other senses. First, he rings a bell in his ear, and Otis is like, oh, that's a bell. Then he waves a steak in front of his face, and Otis is like, that's a steak. Then Mandy comes up, gives him a kiss, and Otis had a really funny line here. He's like, oh, Tucker, I appreciate the help, but I think you're taking it a little too far. And then he takes off the mask, sees it's Mandy, and he's like, oh, it's my peach. I knew that. Of course I knew that. And so Mandy gives him the Money in the Bank briefcase. She gives him a kiss, and Tucker reminds him, like, hey, we're tagging with Strowman tonight, so tonight could very well be your chance to cash in on him. And then out of nowhere, Sheamus and Jeff Hardy come into the scene, and they're just beating the crap out of each other. They're brawling. And then this was cool. So Corey provides a small lesson on the history of the Intercontinental Championship, and it's accompanied by a really nice video package showing all of the great moments of the championship, some of the greatest champions like The Rock, Stone Cold, Chyna, Shawn Michaels, etc. Just all the great people in history who have won the title. Daniel Bryan, Jeff Hardy, everybody who is awesome that has won the title. And then he goes on to talk about how Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles got into the finals, and what you can expect from these two men. This was cool. I thought this was a really cool segment, because if you want a title to feel special, remind me as a fan why it should be treated as something special. Don't just treat it like cannon fodder. Like, remind me as a fan that, hey, this is a championship, it has a big legacy behind it, and this is why it should be treated as something special, and then explain to me why the people competing for it are special. how they are so talented, why they got to the position that they're in, and why they deserve to be competing for a championship. I thought that was really cool. Then we moved in to easily the best match of the night. Honestly, the best match I've seen in WWE in a really long time. This is not only a match of the year candidate, but an early match of the decade candidate, and I'm willing to bet my money on that. That is how good it was. It was AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan for the vacant Intercontinental Championship. Now look, I'm not going to spoil this match. I'm not going to do any play-by-play. I'm not going to tell you who won. All I will say is that, one, this match should have been the main event of the show, because no match following it could have followed it. No match that comes after it could live up to the standards set by this match. It was so good. Go watch this match. It was an absolute clinic. And the cool thing about it is that it wasn't really fast-paced. It wasn't high spot, high spot, high spot, dive, flip. No. This felt like two competitors going out there and fighting for a championship. It honestly felt like Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles got together before this match and we're like, hey, you want to pretend we're in Japan and just beat the living shit out of each other for a long time? And the match went a long time. They were given a long time to work. It went like 30 plus minutes, I think. Like, they were given a lot of time to work, and it was amazing. And they have so much history between these two guys outside of WWE. I have literally seen videos of these two men wrestling in school gyms in front of like 15 people when they were both really young and just breaking into the business. So they have history. They go way back. Then there's what they did in Ring of Honor together. The point is, they have a lot of history outside of WWE, which makes this match feel all the more special. Because now they're here, and they put on this kind of match. It was an absolute clinic on good professional wrestling. This was amazing. This is probably my favorite match of 2020 thus far. I'm not even joking. That is how good it was. And it's like I say, it wasn't even fast-paced with a bunch of crazy spots. It was just so well thought out. And both men proved why they are two of the most talented people in all of pro wrestling history. Not just in WWE, not just in the current era, not even in the current decade. In all of professional wrestling history, AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan are two of the absolute best, and they proved it tonight. The only gripe that I have with this is that it was not the main event, and it should have been. It really should have been. Because every segment that came after this, I was disinterested in relatively. Because no segment could live up to the hype that this match just created. This match was so damn good. It was so good. Me, as a diehard professional wrestling fan, could not ask for a better match. I have not watched Simon Miller's ups and downs today, but if he did not give this match a golden or diamond up, he is smoking crack. I love you, Simon Miller. I love what you do, but if this match does not get a golden up, you are smoking crack. Because this match was pretty much as perfect as a wrestling match could be. So go watch this match. Go watch it. Because it is that good, I promise. I promise you, it is one of the greatest WWE matches that I have ever seen. I enjoyed it to no end. It was that good. Then we had a backstage promo from Braun Strowman. And Braun says, look, I can fix the windshield on my car. That's not a problem. But after what I do to Miz and Morrison, nothing and no one will be able to fix them. I will break them that badly. And then he says, and regarding Mr. Money in the Bank, I like Otis. I think he's a good guy. But I am not in the mood tonight. I'm in a miserable mood. So if Otis and Tucker try anything, he has, and I quote, no problem obliterating some heavy machinery. Then we got a segment between Sasha Banks and Bayley, and it was a tag team championship celebration. And I'm like 90% certain this segment was supposed to be like some kind of buffer between AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan and the main event, so that the main event didn't seem so terrible by comparison, because the main event was not terrible. Let me say that now. The main event was not terrible, but compared to AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan tonight, it might as well have been. Had this match been put in the slot where AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan was, and AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan was the main event, we'd be having a totally different discussion. But anyways, Bayley comes out, the crowd starts chanting, "You suck," and she says, "No, I don't suck. In fact, I'm at the top of my game." And you know what they say, it's lonely at the top. I am untouchable, I have beaten everybody, and I am the most dominant SmackDown Women's Champion in history. But you want to know what? I'm not lonely at the top, because I have my best friend with me. I have Sasha Banks, the GOAT, the Blueprint, all of these great things she's been calling Sasha lately. And then Sasha takes her turn to speak, and she's like, "Look, I told you so. I told you, we are the role models and we are the leaders." And then she refers to Bayley and she's like, "Look, these titles, they represent our friendship and how strong we are together, and that together, you and I are unstoppable." And then Bayley decides, "Look, I wrote a poem for you, and I'm going to read it now." And so as she goes to read her poem, Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross interrupt. And now Alexa says, "Look, we were going to let you go on, but once you start reading poetry, we got to cut it off. We got to stop that right dead in its tracks." And then Nikki says, "Don't worry, girls. Me and Lexi, we love a good party." And then the Iconics interrupt on the Titantron. And they say, "Look, at Backlash, your time as champions, they're going to end. We beat Alexa and Nikki Cross recently, and we beat you two," referring to Sasha and Bayley, "at WrestleMania for the titles last year. We're the ones who took them from you." He's like, "Also, you shouldn't turn your back on Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross." And of course, Bayley and Sasha had their backs turned, so they got attacked by Alexa and Nikki, thrown out of the ring, and the segment ends. Then we get another backstage interview with Miz and Morrison, conducted by who other than Kayla Braxton. And they tell Kayla, "Look, you got slimed. That was an early birthday gift. And now everyone's talking about you. You should be happy." And then they were going to debut a new music video, but Braun's entrance music cuts it short. And thank God. The last thing we needed was another music video from them. Then we move into the main event of the evening, and this should not have been the main event of the evening. It was Braun Strowman tagging with Heavy Machinery to take on Miz, Morrison, and Dolph Ziggler in a 6-man tag match. And there's just no possible way to follow up what AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan did tonight. Especially not with some generic-ass 6-man tag team match. The match is okay. It wasn't bad. But, I couldn't even really get into it because, compared to what I just saw a few minutes ago, this match might as well have been trash. It wasn't trash. Objectively speaking, it was okay. It was good. But compared to the beauty and, perfection that was AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan, any match is trash. Any match. You would need Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker levels good to live up to that kind of standard. You just would. That is how good AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan was. So, halfway through the match, Baron Corbin is shown talking to Mandy Rose backstage on the Titantron. And he's like, "Hey, I want to talk about last week. Otis stole my crown and his big ass head stretched it out. Was that your idea?" And Mandy's like, "No, we were just having a little bit of fun." And he's like, "Look, I'm not mad. Because I understand. You're fantasizing about being with a man with power, a man with status. You're fantasizing about being a king. Quite frankly, you're fantasizing about being with me." And this prompts Otis to leave the ring and beat the shit out of Corbin backstage. So, for a small portion of the match, Tucker and Braun are outnumbered. But after a few minutes, Otis returns with Mandy. He takes out all 3 of his opponents after being tagged in. Dolph tries to attack him, But Otis is unfazed by everything that Dolph throws at him, and he throws Dolph out onto the floor over the top rope, and Strowman takes out all three men with his running tackle. Otis hits the Caterpillar on Ziggler. He gets the pinfall victory. And it's like I said, this match was not bad. It was okay. Everyone in the match is very talented. However, they had no hope whatsoever of following AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan. So I was left relatively uninterested. I really did not care about this match, and there was no way you could make me care about this match. Otis could have cashed in and won the Universal Championship, and I still probably wouldn't have cared. I would have been happy, but I wouldn't have cared. Because AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan was like a 30-plus minute clinic in perfect pro wrestling. That's how good it was. And first off, AJ Styles is like 42, 43. That man defies all logic. Can we just all accept that? That he is uber talented? And then Daniel Bryan's not as old, but Daniel Bryan, it's like if you took all of the wrestling knowledge of someone who's been wrestling for like 100 years and just put it into a young athletic body, and now boom, you've got Daniel Bryan. That's how good he is. Like, all I want to talk about is AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan, but I don't want to give anything away. I will say this. I won't tell you who won, but I personally believe that the winner of the championship was a good call. Either way, both men would have been a good call. That's just duh. It's Daniel Bryan or AJ Styles. No matter who won the match, it's a good champion. They're going to make the championship feel special. But the person who won, I think, was a slightly better call than had the other person won. I'm not going to spoil it, because I don't want to do that. I want you to go and enjoy this match. I got spoiled on it on Facebook because I watched Smackdown today. On Saturday. I didn't watch it last night. I was busy doing other things. So I got spoiled on the winner, and even being spoiled on the winner, this match was straight fire. It slapped. It was amazing. A 10 out of 10 match. If I was Dave Meltzer, I would give this match 6 stars, maybe even 7. That is how good it was. And a lot of people are going to come at me and be like, no, this doesn't compare to Kenny versus Okada. Yes, it does. It really does. And if you try to come at me and tell me it does not, I'm sorry, we have to just have a friendly disagreement. I have to disagree with you. Because this match was so good. It did not feel like a WWE match. I felt like I was watching something totally different. I felt like I was watching Pablo Picasso and Michelangelo both paint a beautiful picture together. I really felt that way. That is how good that match was. Two absolute artists of pro wrestling going out there and just killing it. In every sense of the word. The only gripe I have is that it did not close the show. Because everything that followed after it seemed relatively worse off because it had to follow something so amazing. The main event of this show should not have been the main event. AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan should have been. That being said, this was still a fun show. It was still an enjoyable show. I had a lot of fun watching it. It went by so fast. Like, so fast. The AJ Styles Daniel Bryan match was long. It was a long match, but at no point did it feel boring. At no point. It just built and built and built and got better and better and better until it ended. And when it ended, I was sad because I just wanted to see more. That is how good it was, and that is the keystone of a perfect wrestling match. So this week, SmackDown, you get a 9 out of 10 from me. It would have been a 10 out of 10 had AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan been the main event, and I mean that. I really mean that. That is how good that match was. It gets a 9 out of 10, but because of the bad card placement, I'm ducking a point. I'm docking a point, I mean. I'm not ducking anything. I'm docking a point. But that being said, that match gets a 10 out of 10, hell, an 11 out of 10 from me. It was so good, and I implore you, if you take nothing else from this podcast, go watch Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles for the Intercontinental Championship. And if you like pro wrestling even a little bit, you are going to be very pleased. Well, everybody, this has been Between the Bumps Professional Wrestling Podcast, the pro wrestling podcast where we go between the bumps in the ring to discuss match quality, storylines, wrestling news, and even make predictions in the world of professional wrestling and sports entertainment. I'm your host, Christian Marrero. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Stay safe, and I'll catch you guys later.